Hey everyone, Sky here with Blanca Commercial Real Estate Tenant Rep Team, and I'm here to provide a quick high-level overview on the Miami industrial market. So, starting from a macro level standpoint and zooming in specifically to demand, I can say that we've seen a considerable uptick really through the first quarter of this year. Q3 and Q4 2024 were pretty slow due to the uncertainty around who was going to be in office, but man, come January, we had a lot of requirements that were put on pause, as well as new requirements start flooding the pipeline. And as such, the end of the quarter metrics for leasing activity and absorption were well above what the 10-year historical averages are. And furthermore, I'll also add that we've seen a lot of the larger users come back into the market due to it being a very favorable time to make long-term real estate decisions. And most people are aware of that by this point, specifically in Miami. And I mean, we've seen a number of well over 100,000 square foot leases get done. Case in point, you have CEVA Logistics, Amazon, Performance Food Group, and amongst a handful of others. So that was few and far between up until that point. So really through the first quarter, activity was, from a demand standpoint, was very strong. But it's still somewhat of a contrast whenever you look at how overall supply has been performing, because despite the uptick in demand, it hasn't necessarily been reflected yet in the overall fundamentals on the supply side. And the reason being is we just have so much supply that is still coming online that is far exceeding what existing demand is, even though it is somewhat healthy, or was at least through the end of the first quarter. I mean, through Q1, we had about 1 million square feet of vacant space that had been delivered, with an additional over 5 million square feet that is still in the pipeline under construction. So it's going to take a lot of demand to outpace that and absorb it. I have no doubt that it will happen with time, but I just think it is going to take some time. So needless to say, with all of that said, I think we're not super far out from it, but I do think we still have at least a few quarters to go before we hit the cyclical supply peak. And anecdotally, what I'll say is that those are the high-level stats looking back, right? Whenever you're tracking absorption, vacancy rates, anything, it's posting on the previous quarter. So that signals a very resilient Miami market. But anecdotally, what I'll say is, since everything's came out around the uncertainty around trade policy, as well as the impact of tariffs on various tenants, we've been seeing a lot of hesitation in the market to do long-term deals. A lot of people who were pretty close to the finish line who ended up putting pause. So that's dampened demand in the short term. I don't think that's a fundamental issue in what the market dynamics are. I just think for the time being, until we see some certainty one way or another around what direction the tariffs and trade policy are going to be going, I think groups are naturally going to be hesitant for a good reason. What that has caused, however, is a lot of landlords now are really anxious to offer pretty considerable concessions and deal terms in effort to move deals along. And surprisingly, that actually includes the Prologuses and Blackstones of the world, some of the largest landlords across the South Florida region. So needless to say, most tenants are, with the uncertainty in the market, are not in a position to make long-term real estate decisions. However, for the ones that are, you're sitting in the driver's seat with really any landlord that you're negotiating with. So if you'd like additional insight in terms of where deals are getting done, where there's currently opportunity, and what our outlook is moving in the future, feel free to drop me a note, and happy to connect on your specific occupancy situation. Thank you very much, and talk soon.